So, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today's guest is Marv McGuire, and Marv is a husband of 32 years, a father of four, a 25-year Navy veteran, a corporate sales leader turned entrepreneur, and a three-time brain cancer survivor. He helps people build legacy wealth using multifamily commercial real estate. Wow, Marv, anything that I left out that you want to add?
Those are all the priorities. Those are all the priorities. So thank you for that kind introduction.
Okay, well, thank you for being here today. All right, let's jump right into it. So the first question that I like to ask is simply, right, how did you get into real estate? What inspired you? And then what was the aha moment that made you focus on multifamily specifically?
No, great question. So again, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And our story is I say my wife and I are partners in the business, and she's been a residential real estate agent for more than 2 decades. And
Okay.
when we were in the military, a lot of times you move all around the world, and we lived in Japan for 6 years, and we've lived in various states. And a lot of times you buy your home, you're like, hey, this is a great place to start a family or raise our family. And sometimes you just happen into a home. Hey, this is close to work, so let's buy a home. And so over the course of 2.5, 3 decades, we collected several single family homes, that we either strategically wanted to keep for the investment because we knew it'd be a great rental property,
Right.
or just because the military said, hey, you need to be at your next duty station in the next month. And we're like, oh my gosh, we don't have time to sell the house. And
Yeah.
so I guess it was 22. We had one summer where we had a renter leave out, a tenant leave in the middle of the night, kind of abandon the property after doing $15,000 worth of damage.
Ouch.
We had to replace a roof on a property, and we had a major leak in one of the properties. So we had three major capital events happen in
Mhm.
about a 3 month period, and it ended up being like $30,000 worth of expenses, and it knocked out the cash flow for the entire portfolio for about 2 years, and we were like,
Wow.
there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
There has to be a better way. So, we looked at buying a strip mall or doing an Airbnb or all the things that you talk about when you're like, hey, there's got to be a better way. And we just landed on multifamily because we understood, you know, lease agreements and renters and evictions and renovations and all of that stuff. And we just decided, hey, if owning a single family home or a duplex or a triplex is pretty much the same amount of work
Right.
as owning a 10 unit or
Hmm.
a 15 unit or a 100 unit or a 200 unit. So we really decided to jump into the multifamily space and start doing real estate syndications.
Yes. Okay. Well, it definitely makes sense, and I'm sorry about that, that experience, but at least you came out on the you came out on the top end of it eventually.
Always learning. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So can you walk us through your first multifamily deal? And I want to hear everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. Don't sugarcoat anything. Just give me all the details that you don't mind sharing.
Sure. Well, we started out whenever we decided to get into the multifamily space, we're like, hey, there's general partners and there's passive investors, so we wanted to start on the passive side
Hmm.
just because we wanted to learn what that looks like, because we knew that we always had a goal of sometime, one day becoming, real investors and actively managing and buying the properties. But we
Right.
we thought, hey, what a better way to kind of learn about how this model works by passively investing.
Hmm.
And so we invested passively in two deals as LPs, as limited partners, passive investors. One was in Savannah, Georgia,
Okay.
and it was some very experienced operators that we researched and really, reviewed the underwriting and the market and the deal, and it's turned out to be phenomenal.
Hmm.
That was 3 years ago, and it's paying us, more than $750 a month, and that's been going up every year. We expect that to be well over $1,000 next year in 26. The second experience wasn't as positive.
Okay.
We invested with a friend uh, who was in the space,
Hmm.
and didn't do as much research on his experience or the
Okay.
market or the deal, and we lost our money.
Ouch.
You know, we lost $100,000,
So,
and
sorry, go ahead.
and that's it's kind of the tale of two passive investments. You get educated, you do your research, you ask hard questions, you really dig into what the opportunity is, and they can be very, very lucrative. On that first deal, we expect, to at least 2.5 x our money over the
Hmm.
course of 5 years. On the deal that we got in a hurry and got excited and kind of had, call it shiny object syndrome,
Hmm.
we got burned. We got
Okay.
really burned. Uh, so those are kind of our two, the intro, and we learned a lot of lessons,
Yeah,
obviously in those first two deals, a lot. And then on our first active deal, what we found was, if you're trying to get on the active side of real estate investing, you really need to find partners.
yes, for
And
sure.
to find partners, you really need to figure out what your superpower is. What value can you add to a team?
Yeah.
Because commercial real estate and real estate investing of any type is a team sport. So I knew immediately that I was going to be a capital raiser. I'm a
Hmm.
sales guy. Uh, I'm a guy from Texas who likes to talk and meet people and build relationships. And my wife is an incredibly meticulous commercial underwriter and asset manager. So we knew that we had skills that we could contribute to any team.
For
And
sure.
so we started reaching out to experienced operators that were in the markets that we wanted to be in. And we got a lot of no's. Hey, you've never raised capital and you've never underwritten, or you've
Mm.
never managed any assets. And we had you had to undercut lots of rejections,
Right.
but finally found an operator that said, "Yeah, we'll give you a chance."
Hmm.
And we both really performed well on that first deal. And then the word, it's a small community. It's a big community, but it's a small community.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
So the word gets
and
out very fast. Hmm.
yeah, and then we really gained some momentum. I think I was fortunate enough to raise about $1.6 million on our first deal,
Hmm.
and Victoria was really able to provide some value on the back end asset management side of that deal, and things just took off then. We just really developed some momentum early.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, congratulations on that. By the way, is the Savannah deal, did that happen to be with the Welleses, like Jonathan and
Yeah,
Sam? Okay, okay. All right. Just asking. All right. So,
yep.
after those first, let's say
And they're
the first,
great. Let me tell you, they're great people.
I
They're
yeah,
super.
I have actually not spoken with them as just yet, but I've heard a lot of great things about them. So
Yeah,
maybe
they're
eventually
super.
I'll get in touch with them. So after those, let's call it the first three deals. Okay, the first two LP deals, and then the first deal is a GP. How has your strategy evolved? So like, how about like your deal criteria? Has there been any shift in that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. We have a couple of things about three foundational things have really shifted for us. One, we've really tried to shrink our markets.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Before when we first started, it's like, okay, look at markets where you live, where you grew up, where you've got family, where you've got partners, where you want to be, where you'd want to vacation or live, and you start to spread your market all over. I mean, we were looking in the Carolinas,
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, Florida, Texas, and you just can't really know all those markets really. You can't go deep.
Yes, yeah,
So we've really reduced the number of markets that we look in. The second thing I would say is, whenever we first got started, we were looking at just let's get a multifamily deal. Oh, it's
mm-hmm.
1965. That's fine, or, you know, we really have taken a more strategic look on, hey, what kind of deals would we be proud to own?
Right,
What kind of deals are we most capable of improving the quality of life for the tenants?
okay,
And what type of deals that you can find in markets that will not be as competitive and you can make money for your investors. So it's just been a
right,
kind of a, and then the final aspect I would say is, finding regular partners, because when you
mm-hmm.
first start out, you're just trying to find a deal,
Yeah,
and maybe you're looking in too many markets, you're looking at too many asset classes, and then you find a deal and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got a deal. And then you got to go put a team together.
Yep.
And so how we've transformed over this first 3 years is, again, we've shrunk the markets. We've really focused on the asset type and the vintages, types of assets we want to buy. And we've got three partners that, we just formed a new company called Grovia Capital,
Hmm.
launched a brand new public facing company that, is going to be our enduring partnership.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think that if you have like a team that you work with over and over again, it can go better in the long run. Okay. And then what about mindset shifts? Like maybe, maybe before the first deal, maybe there's a little bit of self-doubt, but after you got the first deal, you locked it up, you got it on the contract, you've closed on it. Did you have any mindset shifts?
Yes, definitely. But I think
Hmm.
every day you battle imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
Hey, what am I doing in here? I don't, am I really thinking about buying a $25 million apartment complex?
Uh-huh.
You know, uh, you really start to, I can remember when we started, you know, in our personal life, you're like, hey, we've got a $500,000 home or a $300,000 home or whatever. And you're like, that's a big mortgage, And then you're like, hey, we're going to buy this $10 million apartment complex. There's a lot more zeros. That's
Yeah.
a bigger loan. So you always have to overcome self-doubt, and I think that's a daily battle that we all, in one degree or another. Some people are super confident and they've done it 20 times and they're like, oh, I can do this in my sleep.
Hmm.
But I think if we all kind of step back and really look ourselves in the mirror and be very, very brutally honest with each other or with ourselves, that we all kind of get up in the morning and and really take a full assessment of where we are and and go forward. So I think overcoming that imposter syndrome early on was
Hmm.
probably the biggest struggle.
Okay.
And then now that we've done, we've got three deals in flight right now that'll all close by the end of the year, and that'll be nine deals.
Hmm.
And so we've got good experience under our belt. And now the mindset is more about balance, to be
Okay.
perfectly honest with you.
Yep.
Once you
Yep.
start to have some success, it's like you don't have to do 10 deals a year. Let's
Hmm.
do two or three really, really solid deals and maintain that good, healthy quality of life and work-life balance.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And then one more question there is how about like your risk tolerance? I guess that has changed a little bit since the first deals as well.
Yeah, before, when you're just getting started, I think you're
Yeah.
open to accepting more risk.
I think so.
Hey, I
Yeah.
want to get started. You're hungry and you're excited, and I got to get into this, and you got some FOMO going, you got friends maybe that are killing it, and you're like, man, I've got to, or you just told people that, hey, I'm going to become a real estate investor,
Hmm.
and you put yourself out there, and you want to,
You
hey,
want to
I've got
deliver.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to deliver. Uh, Now we're much, much, much more conservative. Hey,
Hmm.
we know we can do it. We know what right looks like. We've got good partners. We know what the numbers should say. We've had good deals. We've lost money. Uh, so we're just much, much more conservative now. We'd rather under promise and over deliver
Yeah.
10 times out of 10 than lose investor money. And
Yeah.
we invest our own money in every deal, a
Okay.
significant part
I
of
love
our
that. I
own
love
money.
that. I love that a lot because a lot of GPs, a lot of sponsors don't do that. And I think co-investing is one of the best ways to show, your conviction in the deal. So I love
Yeah,
that a
if
lot.
if yeah, if your sponsor does not have his or her own money in the deal, then you ought not invest in that deal for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, if you've got a real estate deal, a problem, or even just a question, we want to hear about it. Doesn't matter if it's big, small, complicated, ugly, or somewhere in between. If it's a good deal, we're absolutely interested. Period. And if you've got capital, you need to put to work in solid real estate opportunities. We've got those too. Either way, let's talk. Here's how this works. We always need more deals. We always need more capital. And we always find a way to make it happen.
no games, no runaround. If we can't work together directly, we'll hand deliver you to someone who can.
Okay, let's jump over to tips and pitfalls. So, what are your biggest lessons around finding deals?
Uh, Consistent calls with brokers,
Hmm.
relationship building.
Yeah,
I will tell you, you don't have to call every broker. Once you learn your market, you'll see if you're really paying attention to your market. There'll be three or four brokers in that market, maybe five that do all the deals or
yeah.
do 85% of the deals. I call brokers at least once a month,
Hmm.
whether I'm in acquisition mode or not.
Okay.
We've got two deals. Like I said, we have three deals in flight right now. I called all our South Georgia brokers last week and said, hey, they're like trying to send me a deal. Hey, I've got this deal here. I've got this deal here. It's like, hey, man, I've got three deals in flight. I was just calling to catch up.
Yeah.
See what do you think? And I've got notes on all of them. Hey, this guy's a Dallas Cowboy fan. This guy's Georgia Bulldog fan. This guy's a fisherman. Build those relationships.
Hmm.
Uh, because and it'll take consistency over a course of like 6 to 12 months. But when they answer the phone, like all of our broker contacts, hey Mark, what's up? Hadn't heard
Yeah.
from you in a couple weeks. How are
Yeah.
you? When you start having those kind of conversations, they start working for you. It was like,
Hmm.
hey, I got this deal coming on in a couple weeks. It's a perfect fit for you guys. Let me send it to you right now.
Yeah.
Uh, that's when you start to really get some momentum.
Okay. All right. And then what about what are your what tip what are your lessons around like actually operating and executing the deal? So from when you get it under contract, and then you close and you have to do the asset management. What are your biggest lessons around like operating the deals?
Attention to the details. It would
Hmm.
be my absolute number one. I mean, don't get in there and think the property management company, a third party property management company, is going to manage your deal the way it should
You would,
be.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So attention to detail, attention to detail, attention to detail. And the second would be adaptability.
Oh,
Something's always going to happen. Like we bought a deal in Texas in January.
hmm.
And, we went out and did due diligence. Our couple of the partners went out to do due diligence. And it's a funny story, actually. It worked out fine, but it's a funny story. So our two of the three partners went out and did due diligence,
Uh-huh.
and they did a great job. And then a month after closing, Victoria and I went out and looked at the property because we weren't able to go early. And Victoria saw the playground and it was rusted and she immediately put on her mom goggles.
And said, "Oh, kids would would maybe."
This playground is unacceptable. We have to replace this playground. And she brought it up to the partners. They're like, well, we looked at the playground. It's no problem. It looked fine, And she's like, are you kidding me? I
Yeah.
wouldn't let our kids play on that. So we immediately ordered and installed a new playground, but
Hmm.
but we didn't budget for it. So we really
Yeah.
had to cut something else and make that a priority and move it up. So adaptability is really because you can have the best business plan in the world,
Hmm.
but something's gonna happen. So
For
you just
sure.
have to
Yeah.
be flexible, be adaptable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot. And then I don't know if you have any tips to talk about with respect to like exiting deals.
Uh, Not really. We haven't exited as a partnership a deal yet. We're
Hmm.
really in year two of the deals that we've got in flight right now. I mean, we've exited, on the personal side, and the partners have exited on their personal side, but our new partnership hasn't yet.
Yep.
But I would tell you, I guess the best piece of advice I've ever been given about that is, start every deal with an exit plan. So
Yes.
like
Yes. Okay.
when we underwrite our deals, we are really doing, sensitivity analysis on cap rates, market trends, and several other key performance indicators on what the exit potentially could be.
Hmm.
And you want to start with that, when you're doing the initial underwriting, because it'll definitely help as you go through the life cycle of the deal.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. Okay, so the final part of the interview for today is the rapid fire round. I'm gonna throw some questions at you. Don't think,
Uh,
just hit me with whatever. The first thing that comes to your mind, regardless of whether it's politically correct or not, just hit me. All right.
okay.
So, first question, well, first thing to talk about is can you tell us about your worst tenant story?
Worst tenant story was definitely the I told you the story about a tenant that left in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Uh, my neighbor called me in the morning at about 6 a.m. when he was going to the military base to go to work, and he said, "Hey, man, the front door of your house is open, and your garage is open, and the garage door is open, and what's going on? There's no cars around." I said, "Oh no." So I asked him to go over there. He
Hmm.
went up into the master bedroom, and there was a grease stain about the size of a picnic table. It looked like they'd
What?
been working on a car engine
Oh my
in the
goodness.
master bedroom.
Wow.
So again, that it was, and there was this. It literally looked like somebody was rebuilding lawnmowers in the master bedroom. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you survived. You survived, so it's okay.
Uh,
It's a good story to tell now. Um, what about what is your favorite expense saving hack?
Expense saving hack. I love it. Uh, Paying cash. I
Mhm.
try to pay cash as much as physically possible. And
Yeah.
I know it gets harder and harder as technology improves, and you've got Apple Pay and you've got this and you've got that. But I find if if I carry cash and try to pay cash, it's, I have trouble breaking $100 bill, a lot more trouble breaking $100 bill than swiping the credit card. So it always saves me money.
Okay. Okay. And then so like there's a lot of advice floating around in the real estate world, some good, some not so good. What do you think is some of the most overrated advice you have heard?
Wow, some of the most overrated advice. Um, there's too much uncertainty in the market, so you should wait.
Hmm.
I listened to a podcast yesterday and I've listened to several. It's like, hey, tariffs and political uncertainty and wars and, late weak jobs reports and, increasing inflation. And you just ought to, be careful, not be careful. Everybody should be careful, but,
Right.
hey, we're just keeping our powder dry and we're not doing anything until things settle. And, I believe that there's always opportunities. You just
Hmm.
always have to be looking. You have to be diligent. You have to be conservative, but I think there's buying opportunities in every market.
Yes. Okay. And then conversely, how about like what advice do you think is underrated?
Underrated? Hmm. I would say focus on a market and go
Hmm.
deep in a market. You may get less opportunities in that market, but you'll really be able to recognize the really good ones.
Right.
So I think that, find a market wherever it is and or a market or two and go
Hmm.
deep, go really, really, really deep in that market.
Yeah. Okay. And so we talked a little bit about superpowers, right? And you mentioned that you're a capital raiser. Um, do you have what's your unfair advantage?
Uh, I never have an expectation that an investor will spend a dime with me,
Hmm.
invest a dollar.
Yeah.
A lot of capital raisers go into a conversation and people immediately feel, okay, what's the ask? And, where's the hard sell coming? And when is he going to ask me for money? And,
Hmm.
and and I'm exactly the opposite. I'd rather have a conversation, figure out where you are, what your priorities are, uh, do some education. And frequently, my phone calls with investors end with the question, aren't you going to ask me for money? And
Okay. Nice.
and I'd rather have one or two or even three phone calls with an investor, with a potential investor, to get them really, really comfortable with the business model, our
Hmm.
markets, our approach, and then let them ask me
Right.
because, people, once they get educated on the model and really learn about the benefits of a syndication, whether it's the tax benefits or the passive income or the appreciation or all the things that you and I know about,
Hmm.
uh, the light bulb will go off and they'll be like, hey, this is something, I need to try out for myself. So I tell people there's never any expectation, there's never any pressure, uh, whether you invest a dollar today or never invest anything with us.
Yeah.
So, and I think that people like that. People like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. I think I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal that whenever I'm capital raising. Thank you. And so I don't like to use the word like regret, but if you could go back, is there one thing that you would do differently? Anything you would do differently?
In my real estate journey,
Yes, yes.
uh, man, that is such a super question. I think I would have really taken more time, obviously, on that second LP deal to
Hmm.
be much, much more deliberate. And I think I'd have taken more time to figure out what my long-term objectives are,
Yeah.
for the business. Okay, if I'm going to be a limited passive investor, what am I trying to achieve?
Hmm.
And if I want to be an active investor, what am I trying to achieve? And it took me a couple of years to really get to that point where we went back and said, okay, Victoria and I, my wife and I, are trying to create kind of a passive income snowball.
Hmm.
We're going to try to, invest in real estate, these syndications, 2 or 3 deals a year,
Right.
and just let that passive, stair
Let it
step,
grow
that
and grow.
passive income, let it grow to a point where, we can do whatever we want.
Hmm.
And that, yeah, that's going to take time. It's not a get rich quick scheme or anything
For
like
sure.
that. And it takes a lot of discipline. Uh, but I think I should have probably taken a pause and really created that plan or thought about
Hmm.
my long-term goals and objectives up front.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes sense as well. And a follow-up question, slightly off topic, but the LP deal that went south, did it involve a bridge loan, or what really happened in that deal? If
It
you can
did.
talk
It
about it, yeah.
involved it. No, no, no. It involved a bridge
Uh,
loan. It
yeah.
did. It was
Okay.
right that point where it was a really heavy renovation
Hmm.
in an emerging market, and the operator kind of got behind the power curve a little bit with the loan, and that's exactly what happened.
Okay. Okay. And then one final question. Well, it's a two-part
Yeah.
question actually. Is what would be your best advice for new investors? And new investors here, let's categorize them into like LPs and GPs. So someone who wants to just be a passive investor, what would be your best advice for them?
Get educated. Get educated. Do whatever you can to get educated. Whether there's tons of books in the library on real estate investing, there's countless podcasts with incredible people like you and others that are really putting out great content. Uh, get educated and then, take action. Those would be the things, because you can get educated all day long, but
And then do nothing with it.
if you never do anything with it, you're not going to make any progress. So
Yeah.
you've got to do those two things together.
Yeah.
And I think if you really take the time to get educated and then reach out to somebody that you know and trust, and develop a relationship, it'll go a long way. And that's the passive side, and it really applies to the active side too.
Okay.
You really want to get educated and know what you're doing,
Hmm.
but then hone your skill. Every one of us is born with some type of skill, whether you're born with it, you're educated, whether it's in school or a trade or, people are general contractors are great boots on the ground and construction managers for these deals.
Yeah.
Financial analysts are great underwriters. Salespeople are great capital raisers typically. So everybody has something to provide and just figure out what your superpower is and then just hone it, hone it, hone it, and look for a team to provide some value to.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, I lied. One more question. Sorry. Last question is there anything that I didn't ask that either you wish I asked because you want to talk about it, or you think that someone who is watching this, they might kind of wish that I asked you? So any questions that were not asked that you think we should quickly talk about?
Oh my goodness. Not that I can think of right off the top of my head, but I'm sure
Hmm.
as soon as we get done, I'll be like,
Well,
oh my
it's okay, it's okay. That's
God.
fine, that's fine. Okay, so the last thing I want to say then is there anything that you're working on, any projects that you're excited about? You said you have three deals in the pipeline. I don't know if you're still racing for them or if they're like five or six Bs or Cs, so I'm not sure whether you can talk about them, but if you want to, is there anything that you want to share before we wrap up?
Certainly, certainly. We have a beautiful deal coming out in the Houston, Texas metropolitan area. It's 200 units.
Hmm.
They're very, very, I was there last week. They're beautiful products. One's built in 2004. It's a two property portfolio,
Okay.
an 80 unit property built in 2004 and a 120 unit built in 2014.
Oh,
We're
pretty
actually,
new. Hmm.
yeah, they're super new and there's no deferred maintenance. The story, it's a great story. We're buying them from the original developer, an
Hmm.
82-year-old gentleman who's ready to finally retire. He has babied these properties. I mean, they're gorgeous. We're under LOI. We're going out for due diligence next week, and we'll probably be launching the investments the week of the 22nd. We're going to be raising about $11 million. It's going to be a Class B
Hmm.
or a 506B to begin with for about the
Okay.
first 2 weeks,
And
and
then
then we'll be
convert to a 506C. Okay.
transferred to a 506C. Uh, and I tell people, we love to bring home runs and really, it's a 3x equity multiple and these crazy, that you hear.
Hmm.
Our kind of investment thesis is to bring like really solid, if you're a baseball fan, base hits.
Base hits. Okay. Yeah.
So this is a solid double,
Hmm.
right up the middle. It's going to be about an 8% cash on cash, 15% IRR, and about a 1.9 equity multiple.
Okay.
It cash flows day one.
Okay.
And we have a very, very conservative business plan. So we're super excited about it.
All right. Okay. Well, really, best of luck with that deal. It sounds like a very solid deal as well, I think. Okay. So what I'll do is I will include all of your contact information on the screen later on when I edit, and then in the video description. So if anyone has interest in those deals, they can reach out to you guys directly. All right, Marv.
Hey,
Thank you
thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Thank you very much for joining the podcast today. I would love to invite you back, like 6 months, 12 months later to kind of see how your progress is going. But
I
I
love
think you've
that.
you've delivered a lot of value today. So I'm very happy to have spoken to you, and I hope anyone who watches this as well, they'll find something that they can learn. I'm pretty sure. So thank you once
Hey,
again. Hmm.
thank you so much, Hugo. Have a nice day.
All right, cool.